What's up guys, Rogue9 here. Ubisoft have put out some designers notes mid-season, and they follow those up with an Ask Me Anything session on Reddit. In both the notes and the AMA, they revealed some significant changes coming to Rainbow Six in the very near future, and what I want to do today is go over those and give you my thoughts and opinions. So first up, line is getting changed. Good news for everyone. But these changes are not really new because we've already seen them implemented on the test server recently. His charges are going to be reduced from 3 to 2, the cooldown is going to double from 10 seconds to 20 seconds, and if a defender does get spotted, all they have to do is to stop moving and the spotting effect will disappear instantly. This, in my opinion, is a significant nerf. I mean, only having 2 charges means that you can maybe use one earlier on in the match, and then one to either cover the plant, or to defend the plant after it's gone down if you're playing bomb, or of course stop roamers from returning to the area if you're playing secure area. And of course having a longer cooldown stops your opponents from spamming the charge over and over again, and that means of course that during any critical situation, Lion can only use the one scan anyway. So Lion is definitely going to become a lot less useful, maybe even to the point where he's not even useful enough anymore. I mean, even as powerful as he is right now, in a solo queue team with little communication, little coordination, it's already difficult to get the most out of his scans. After this nerf, sure, he may still be useful at high level play, but apart from that, probably not so much anymore. The bottom line is, I think this nerf was definitely needed, we all know that, but I can't help thinking, what if Lion's scan had just provided Caveira-like icons rather than a full outline, or maybe even something like Jackal? Outlines would have been fine in Outbreak and Terrorist Hunt, but why not use the icons in PvP instead? It would have been great if it had been like that from the beginning, and I don't really think it's too late to go back to that option. Whatever the case, Lion is getting a significant nerf, and I suppose that's what counts. Now the next change is that Hibana's X-Kairos pellets, the pellets she shoots to breach, can no longer be intercepted by Jäger's ADS system. In my opinion, this change is purely Pro League driven. I mean, think about it yourself. How many times have you seen in any game that you've played Hibana used in a way to burn out the ADS systems so that then a coordinated push can happen? Even at the high gold or platinum level, these are strategies you don't really see all that often, and teams aren't usually that coordinated to be able to take full advantage of it. So yes, it will now become harder to deal with Jäger in Pro League and maybe Diamond level, but I think most players won't even really notice this change. For the longest time, Blitz was kind of a joke in Rainbow Six Siege. He was an interesting and fun character, but he was just not good enough to be able to play him in a competitive environment. So first they gave him the ability to sprint, and that wasn't enough. Then they made him faster. Did this make him more viable? Yes. Did this increase his pick rate? Yes, but it also made him incredibly frustrating to play against. So now there is an attempt to rebalance him a little bit by reducing the range of his flashes from 8 meters to 5 meters, and also taking away one of his charges, so 4 instead of 5. It's important here to note though that the range at which the shield will cause full blindness is not going to be reduced, so that's still 4 meters, it's only that range between 4 and 8 meters where the flash used to cause sort of partial blindness, a little bit of whiteness, that's going to be coming down to 5. So essentially now, you have a flash that either blinds you fully or almost not at all. I don't know if that actually will do anything. The partial blindness wasn't that much of a distraction anyway, you could still see, it was the full blindness that was the real problem and still will be. But in the designer notes, Ubisoft also mentioned that they will continue looking into the issue with Blitz and find more creative ways to deal with him at close range. So let's hope that this is only the first step in making Blitz more fun to play against. The next character to get a bit of a nerf is Vigil. He's now apparently one of the most popular, if not the most popular and effective roamers, and in order to really bring him down a notch, his cloaking ability is going to last only 12 seconds from now on instead of the 30 seconds it used to, but at the same time it will recharge in 6 seconds instead of 12. And I have to say, I think this is a decent change. Keeping the cloak on for a full 30 seconds anyway gave the attackers more than enough time to kind of drone you out anyway and use the snow on their drones to get a pretty good idea of where you were. Reducing the uptime as well as the cooldown time of his gadget will actually force players to become a little more strategic. Using the cloak can hide your exact position, but it also gives away your approximate position to any drone that's nearby. And at the same time, it can fully highlight you to any roaming IQ. So forcing players to become more strategic with their cloak use might actually have a positive effect on the way that people play Vigil. It might force most players to actually become more effective with him. But again, this is only the first step that is announced. They are also looking at messing with his guns in future should his pick rate and effectiveness still be too high. Hibana is another operator that is both too popular and too effective, and in order to combat this, they're taking away her claymore and giving her a breaching charge instead. So instead of being an excellent gunfighter and being able to burn out ADSs and breach hard walls and even stop late flanks by roamers with her claymore mine, she now becomes more of a breaching specialist instead. For now, they're not messing around with her guns, but that may still be an option in future. What do I think of the Claymore swap? I think again, most players won't really feel a massive change here. Being able to use Claymores effectively also takes a lot of experience and map knowledge, and I have to say, I for one won't really even miss it that much. Hibana is a great operator and I do like playing her, but I never thought of her as that much overpowered, so I have to say I'm quite glad that they're only making a subtle change to her. And last but not least, Ying is also getting a bit of a nerf, I suppose? Again, it's a really subtle nerf. She's losing her smoke grenades and she's gonna have claymores instead. Highly organized teams that will push together, smoke out an entire room and then go for a bomb plant will definitely feel the effect of this change. Up until now, Ying was just that one character that even if all of the defenders were still alive, you could just throw those candelas down one at a time, put the smoke down and go for a plant anyway. Without those smokes now, she alone doesn't have that capability anymore. You do need to coordinate more with your team. And again, as I've said with a few of these changes before, I think that this won't really affect most of us. More important will be the change to her gun. And that brings us actually to an interesting section in these notes. There is a whole section on changes to LMG damage. Zofia's LMG-e, Ying's T95 LSW, Capitao's M249 and the Russian 6P41 are all going to see some changes to their damage output per bullet, with the three first ones getting significant increases and the Russian 6P41 getting a slight nerf. Now, in general, I have to say that these changes make sense. In my recent podcast discussion with Prodigio Pete and Get Flanked, go and check that if you haven't seen it yet, we talked about specifically the LMGs and DMRs in Rainbow Six Siege, and all of our conclusions were that the LMGs are just a bit bad in the game. They're just not viable. Long reload times, slow ADS times, slow fire rates, low damage, relatively high recoil and low controllability, all of the things that you don't want in a gun in Rainbow Six Siege, you'll find them in the LMGs. And the only thing to compensate for this was a large bullet capacity. I think most players will agree that that just wasn't enough to make up for all of the downsides. Now, with these upcoming changes, one of the key drawbacks of the LMGs is being addressed, and that's the low damage output. Increasing the baseline damage significantly looks amazing on paper, and it makes these guns look so much more powerful. But will it actually make that much of a difference? Let's take a closer look. These lovely little charts that Ubisoft have provided us with show both the baseline damage up to 25 meters and then the damage drop-off for the guns in normal mode, suppressed, or with the heavy barrel. First off, I'm going to completely ignore the damage drop-off because, as we all know, the average kill distance in Rainbow Six is 9 meters. 25 meters is more than enough to cover that. Let's start at the top with Zofia's LMG-e. The baseline damage is going from 32 points to 41, so that means that currently you will need 4 shots to take out an opponent, and even 5 shots when going up against medium or heavy armor defenders who are wearing rook plates. But after this change, it will go down to 3 shots to take out light and medium, and 4 shots for everyone else, so that's heavy, light, medium, and heavy wearing rook plates. And that's really the first indicator as to how much this update will really do for us. Yes, the damage output is going to go up significantly, but in practice, it's not really going to make that much of a difference. Low damage output was only one of the things that made this gun bad. Ridiculous recoil and slow ADS time are really the 2 factors that I think make this gun bad compared to any other gun in the game. And this buff doesn't actually extend to the suppressed version of the LMG. If you attach a suppressor, you're still going to be doing a measly 29 points of damage. If this is accurate, it would make the suppressor absolutely horrible going forward. Well, okay, it would be just as horrible as it is now, but the gun would actually get slightly better, so the disparity is what's going to become greater. And finally, we have a lovely little chart that shows us all the info on the heavy barrel. But what is the heavy barrel? Okay, when the extended barrel came out back in the day, it was called the heavy barrel for a short while, and during the AMA, the Ubisoft devs actually mentioned that their internal name for the extended barrel is heavy barrel, because of course it makes complete and utter sense to use two different names internally and externally, because that doesn't cause any confusion at all, does it now? But that's not even the biggest problem with this chart. The LMG currently cannot accept the extended barrel. So why we have a chart telling us the old damage for the heavy barrel? I have no clue whatsoever. And does this mean that we're going to get the extended barrel going forward? Interesting, but then if these numbers are correct, what would be the point? I mean, I've already made 2 separate videos explaining why the extended barrel is pointless, full stop. And if in this case the extended barrel is actually going to do the same damage as the suppressor, why would anyone want to attach that? None of this makes sense. Please take it away. Ying's LMG is also getting a damage buff, and for her what it means is pretty much 1 less bullet to take out an opponent across the board. With the buff to the suppressed damage, you could even consider running a suppressor on the gun. I almost said this could be really useful in situations when you put down your smoke and you're firing through the smoke, then your enemies wouldn't be able to see the incoming fire indicator, but of course, smoke is no longer a thing, so, I mean, if you want the suppressor, it's viable at least. There is also again one of those blue charts, but I refuse to comment on it. Get this nonsense out of my sight. Now, before I move on, there is one thing to mention with Ying specifically. Yes, her machine gun is rubbish as it is right now, but it is so on purpose because her gadget is so useful and so powerful. And I can understand why a lot of people are concerned with seeing a damage increase to her weapon. As long as the long ADS time doesn't change though, I'm not sure that 1 less bullet to deal with your opponent will make that much of a difference. I'm happy to wait and see how this one plays out. Capitao, one of the worst performing and least picked operators in the game, is getting another little buff, and this time to his M249. Depending on the armor status of your opponent, this will mean 1 less or even up to 2 less bullets to down or kill. Not a bad change to be fair, but will it make Capitao a viable operator? Hard to say, maybe not. My money's on maybe not. Suppressed damage is also getting quite a bit of a boost, and yeah, why not? It looks okay. And finally, we are also getting the cutest little nerf we've ever seen in Rainbow Six Siege. The 6P41 is losing a complete and utter 1 point of baseline damage, both suppressed and unsuppressed. Oh heavens, whatever shall we do now? To be fair, the 6P41 probably was the one machine gun that was kind of viable until now, and guess what? It still is. If you're shooting at an opponent directly, it will only be medium armored operators wearing rook plates that will now take 1 extra body shot. There's virtually no change here. And that is almost it. Now, I did follow the Reddit AMA later on as well, and there were a couple of questions that hint at some exciting changes that haven't really been officially announced yet. For instance, Pulsing Smoothie mentioned that there are currently 3 operators in a prototype phase of a rework. So we will see some operators changing, hopefully, in the near future. My guess is one of them's definitely going to be Echo. Maybe Castle as well, who knows? And one last thing was a hint that in a near test server release, we will see a change to how speed and armor work. And this personally is probably one of my favorite things in this AMA. With the close quarters nature of the combat and the fast time to kill, Rainbow Six Siege is 100% dominated by Pika's advantage. It feels like almost every gunfight nowadays is decided by who's moving and who is stationary. Even slow peeking a corner can get you the kill because you don't don't even appear on your opponent's screen until it's already too late. For me personally, this is 100% the #1 frustration with this game, and that is what makes 3-speed operators so powerful compared to 1-speed. Whatever they're coming up with to address this imbalance, I hope it's good and I hope it really works. I would really love for Rainbow Six Siege to be more of a strategic, more tactical game, and less gunfights being decided by who can take advantage of the limitations of the netcode. I do really hope that they're gonna make 3 speeds slower rather than make the 1 speeds faster, but I guess we're gonna see. And that's it for now. Those are the changes that we're going to see in the near future and my thoughts on them. Over to you. What do you think about these changes? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you not like? And what do you think the heavy barrel is really supposed to be? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and with that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next episode.